Hi everyone, welcome back to the Property Finance Podcast. And today I want to talk about a subject that's coming up a lot at the moment, which is preparing for auction. So we get a lot of clients who go to an auction, are successful in their bid, and then they'll come to us and say, can you finance this? It's a very awkward conversation to then say, no, we can't, because you've already put your 10% deposit down. You've got 28 days to complete on it. You are really, really up against it. So one of the things I want to talk about today is how to kind of prepare for that and actually have it almost as if the lender is stood in the room with you, that you're backed by the lender at the point that you're putting that bid in. So what I would say is when you're preparing for auction is get the pack over to us or get the deal over to us probably a week, maybe 2 weeks before the auction. Now, that's not always possible, but I would say if we have at least a week, it means what we can do is we can go through the pack. We can say, right, there's this that's come up. If there's any covenants or restrictions on the title that we think are going to be a problem, and obviously your solicitor would do this as well. But we'll go through and just say, look, we think this is going to be an issue. This might be a problem. Look at this. What will happen is we've got that week then to go to lenders and say, right, we've had this deal come in. And at the point that you send the pack in as well, what's really important is that you tell us what your maximum bid is as well. And the reason why we set it as the maximum bid is because if we went and did it, so let's say, for example, just for round numbers, you say your max bid is £100,000. If we get the finance against that £100,000, but you then go and bid up to 120, it's really difficult for us because we haven't had it credit backed up to that level. We've only had it credit backed up to £100,000. So there is room for it potentially to fall down if you go over that max bid. So set the max bid, stick to it. And then what we can do is we can get the credit back terms based on that. And then you walk into that auction room and you've got a set of terms that are there that you know if you go up to £100,000 that you have got a set of terms that you can rely on. Now, a few bits and a few caveats to this. Firstly, if it's less than £100,000, obviously bear in mind the loan amount is going to come down. The second thing as well is chances are you're not going to have time before the auction to do a valuation. Where that becomes a problem, say your max bid is £100,000, valuation comes in at 90, there's every possibility that the valuation of that £90,000 is then going to drop the bridging offer that you've had. So you need to keep that in mind as well. That's where things like AVMs and that kind of thing can help as well. AVM being kind of your automated valuation models that they use. So by doing AVMs, desktop valuations, at least you get some kind of idea of where that valuation is going to come back at. So there's some of the things that you can kind of prep for. I would say get it to your broker as early as possible. So a week, 2 weeks before the auction takes place. Set a max bid at that point as well. So this is the maximum that you're going to go to. Get your solicitor to look over the pack because, again, things can come up in the pack that can trip you up. And for the sake of 300, 400, 500 quid, whatever your solicitor's charging to look through the pack, for the sake of that money, for them to then be able to go through it and say, well, actually, this is a problem. This could be an issue. There's this as well. If there's anything in there that's going to make it unfinanceable, we need to know before you proceed with the purchase. The other thing as well is that if you're doing an auction purchase with a view to doing a refurb or a conversion or maybe even a full-blown development, just keep in mind 28 days is not a huge amount of time for lenders to be looking over build costs and to be able to kind of analyze that side of things as well. So just keep in mind that if you are going to try and do a refurb or a conversion, you might have to go onto a bridge first and then refinance into development finance. That being said, we do have a couple at the moment where people are doing houses into HMOs and the build costs are kind of between 100 and 200,000, and we are able to go straight in for refurb finance. But again, making brokers aware of that beforehand. So here's my max bid, here's what I'm going to spend on it, and here's what I think the GDV is going to be. Providing that information up front is really, really helpful. Just saying, I want to bridge this property, but not kind of giving us any idea what you're going to do with it, makes it difficult to then obviously go and get terms and raise the finance. So in terms of prepping, get your solicitor to look over the pack, get it to the broker as quickly as possible, and also be as informative as you can to the broker as well. And set that max bid as quickly as you can as well, so that we all know kind of the number that we're aiming for, and try and get, whether it be, I mean, Zoopla's not particularly accurate, but maybe via Zoopla or other desktop valuation software, try and get some idea of kind of what that valuation is going to be, because then obviously that will align with your max bid as well. So hopefully that's handy. Just gives you a bit of a checklist, only a short episode today, but just a quick checklist of what you need to do when prepping for that auction, because like I said, it's a really, really awkward conversation if you come to us when you've already bought a property and we're telling you that it's unfinanceable. It puts a lot of stress on you in terms of just the acquisition. So yeah, hopefully it's helpful. If you have found it helpful, please like, share, do all of that good stuff on social media. And then otherwise I'll catch you on the next one.